Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another episode of the Key Ingredient Podcast. Today, I'm joined by Peter JeanMarie. Peter's a former model turned fashion designer and now CEO of his own clothing brand. Peter, thanks for joining me here today.
Yes, it's a pleasure to be here. So thank you for the invite.
My pleasure. Looking forward to this because you are the youngest entrepreneur we've had on the Key Ingredient so far, and your success has been very noticeable and very amazing to watch. So appreciate you taking some time to tell our viewers and our listeners a little bit about your story. So if you don't mind, let's begin. Maybe just tell us a little bit about yourself.
Yes, definitely. Name is Peter Jean Marie. I'm Haitian American, born in Pompano Beach, raised in Naples, Florida. I graduated from St. John Newman High School, and I've been in the industry since I was 16. I used to model. Started off with modeling for Gap, and from there, I wanted to get on the creative side of things of fashion. So a year later, I started looking into school, different colleges, design schools. I was a sophomore at the time, and by the time I was a junior, submitted a few sketches, and I was already accepted to the school that I wanted to go to. And from there, everything's been history. I graduated from the Miami International University of Art and Design, which used to be called the Art Institute of Miami, and graduated in 2018. Launched my business in 2018, and from there, just been pretty consistent on this journey.
Yeah, wow, great story. So let's go back in time a little bit. So you said at 16 you kind of got started. Is that when you started modeling?
Correct.
Okay, so let's go a few years before that, if you don't mind.
Mhm.
So maybe back to 13, 14 years old. What were you like? What were your interests? Did you always think you wanted to get into either modeling or fashion? What were you thinking at that time?
At the time, I always had a love for clothing, buying the cool shoes, being the cool kid in class. And actually, I just wanted to be an actor. I wanted to be one of those Disney Channel kids and
Okay.
all that. So that's where, my head was at the time. And I also wanted to, be a rapper. I think
Oh,
everybody during elementary or middle school, they go through a phase where they want to be a musician and, try to write songs and, do something.
absolutely. So something in entertainment basically was where your interest was, it sounds like. And
Correct.
how far back can you go? How young were you when you could remember always being interested in that?
I could say probably age 6.
Okay,
Yep.
okay. Were you a theater kid? Did you do theater at school or not necessarily?
I actually did.
Okay.
I did theater my junior and senior year of high school, and that was pretty cool.
Wow. So okay, so age 16, you're a model, right?
Mhm.
You're a model for Gap, I believe you mentioned,
Correct.
correct? How did you get your foot in the door there? Kind of what was that like?
Well, my cousin, Scott Jean Marie, he's a model and actor. He was already in the entertainment business at the time. Uh, Played in the movie Step Up 3D, and from there, you know, I asked him for some of his connects,
Of course.
some of his contacts, and from there, I kind of just witnessed how he did business, and from there, he gave me a few different agents I could contact, and I did a little research of my own, and from there, I went with the one that was good for me.
Wow. Not an easy industry to break into.
Oh no, the industry. I started learning how the industry works literally at age 16.
Okay.
Um, as far as how in order to get to a certain level, you have to spend money, and that's something that I didn't have. And I remember before signing with this agent, with this agency, I went door to door to my neighbors. I created this flyer of a few potential pics of me being a model, and was like, hey, I'm trying to be a model. I need X amount of money
I
to
love
pay this
that.
agent. And I did all of that, and I was able to pay the agent and start.
I was gonna say, what was the reception like? Were people understanding and supportive of you trying to? I mean, going door to door. I mean, you were an entrepreneur then at a very young age because that's not an easy thing to do, right?
Mhm.
Approach strangers and ask them for something. How did that go?
Um, so I wasn't really too scared. I had a Ziploc bag, and I could say one thing that I know how to do is sell myself. In
Mhm.
other words, be myself. And from there, some people said yes, some people said I didn't have anything, some people said get a job. But at the end of the day, uh, my goal was reached because I took that first step. I took a leap, and from there, I got the treasure that I needed.
That separates people like you from other people, right? I mean, that's one of those things everybody could hear that and say, okay, I could do that. But it's one thing to think about doing that. It's another thing to do it. You face rejection, right? Not an easy thing to do. So I commend you for that. So, okay. So you were a model for Gap. How long did that last?
I only did it for about a year, and I did other jobs like commercials, print modeling, and from there, like I didn't have enough time to spend in the modeling business because I was soon going to start college. So that's why I was looking at different routes in the fashion industry where I would actually be able to profit both ways, which is creating my own things and modeling in them.
So at what point in age did you say, you know what? I want to start my own clothing line?
17,
So
16, 16.
So 16,
Mhm.
okay. So what sparked that? I mean, you said you were always into fashion. I mean, were you thinking before that that, it'd be great one day to have my own clothing line? Or, I mean, did someone give you advice as far as that? I mean, how'd that work?
So back to when I wanted to be a rapper, I used to look at Lil Romeo and his father, Master P,
Mhm.
and Master P, he's just an entrepreneur type of guy. As a rapper, he created his own clothing brand called P Miller. And from I watched some of his movies, I watched a lot of his YouTube videos, and I think I was more so admiring the business side of his career rather than his music. And then right there, I think that's when I started thinking I want to create my own brand too.
Yeah, yeah.
Mhm.
Master P. It's interesting you mentioned Master P because Master P is exactly what you just said. I mean, he's more of a business person, right, than a rapper. Not that he was a bad rapper, but
Mhm.
there is someone who's worth a lot of money, more than most people would imagine because of all the business moves that he's made. So interesting comparison. So, okay, you decide you want to start this clothing line. What were you envisioning it would look like? What was your style at the time?
So my style was pretty much, having loud prints and patterns, something that wasn't so simple and plain. Uh like jackets, jeans, blazers, and creating my own sneakers and all that. So as far as my style, I just seen myself, creating lots of different prints and patterns.
Okay, so the vision part. So how does that work? So you have the vision, I'm assuming, of what you want your fashion to look like. You design it, I take it, and then so do you do the actual design of everything, and then what happens after that?
Yeah, definitely. So when it comes to creating clothing, it's like creating a building. You have to create a blueprint. And when it comes to a shirt, there's you literally have to draw out the blueprint as far as how long do you want the sleeves, how low do you want the crew neck, and as far as that, you would go off, if you're a creative person like me, you would create your own prints. Starts with a pencil, draw them on the paper, screen print them into a Adobe Illustrator, clean it up a little bit, add colors, and as far as where the inspiration come from, the inspiration could come from anything. Like if I look at the garden and I'm inspired by leaves or the texture of the leaves, and I try to mimic that on paper. And from there, I would go on with my creative, and I'll let my creativity uh, take over. And, you know,
Sure, love
yeah.
that. So once you have the design, your creativity took over, you have this blueprint of what you envision your
Mhm.
fashion brand to look like or the new clothing line to look like. What happens after that? Who actually does the work as far as putting everything together? How does that happen?
Um, so At first, when I back in 2018, when I started my line, I started with neckties. So at first, I was sewing them myself, creating my own patterns, prints, screen printing them into the material, and you know, hand sewing them myself, but I don't like sewing. So from there, you gotta give other people that loves to do that stuff that job. So I started partnering with different manufacturers, and I would create a mock a sample and show them the flats and the pattern, and show them this is the length that I wanted, the width, and they would mimic it.
Interesting. So for someone listening and watching right now and says, you know what, I want to take a closer look at your brand and see what it's about. First of all, what's your website? Where can they find you? And then second of all, what would you say is the type of person, I guess demographics, from an age point of view of what might be a good fit really for your clothing line?
Yes. So uh my clothing could be found at peterjeanmarie.store. As far as demographic, my clients are more so they start pretty young at 16, but they're also like you know, laid back.
A
Uh
little older? Yeah.
yeah, a little older, and somebody who's like, you know, very confident, looking to you know, stand out at times. And here's a fun fact: even though my line is a menswear clothing line, my number one customers are women, actually.
Are they really?
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. I want to get into that a little bit more. In a few moments, we'll kind of go into that because I want to hear, I guess, your perspective of where you think fashion's going for men and women, especially in where you are right now for both. But before we get into that, so there are a lot of designers out there. Are there any that really inspire you that you say that is a designer that I want to either emulate or I just get some kind of motivation from?
Yeah, I definitely get my motivation from the brand Loro Piano. They're a very, very, very old brand, and they're well known for creating everything from cashmere and wool, from shirts, jeans, even shoes. Like, and that's the company they were. They specialize in producing products out of cashmere and wool. And I think that brand pretty much inspired me, because I don't know any other brand that focuses or uses just one type of material and become, you know, an international brand out of it, because not once have they ever did any type of advertising. And when it comes to Loro Piana, they really, really, really focus on quality. And nowadays, I think in the present time we're living in, uh, most people don't really look at quality. They
Sure.
kind of buy things off of looks. And yeah, but anywho, Loro Piana, you know,
Okay.
did it for me.
Well, you could go online, as you know, and find something that looks really good and it's really cheap and it's poor quality. So it's easy to find that, unfortunately, these days. You mentioned women. So, from a business segment, what, if you had to guess, what is your percentage of clients when it comes to men and women? What does that look like?
So I say women's about 60%, men is about 40%.
So women is more. Okay.
Mhm.
Okay. I didn't know that. So for the ladies watching and listening right now, what kind of clothing line do you have for them? What would appeal to someone listening?
So for the women, what I have coming for them, I have you know, different type of bomber jackets and blazers that I actually did create early on. So that's something they could look forward to, as well as footwear. And what was pretty funny is, even though I had you know, I have, like, you know, a line of neckties and all that, women, I don't know, the women, they just love to support Peter Jean Marie, and I've seen women buy buy the neckties and wear them themselves, like whether they
Okay.
have a man or not, or somebody to give them to or not, and they fall in love with the prints as well.
I like that. So it's interesting. And, you know, part of the Key Ingredient podcast is to interview entrepreneurs, right? So here you are, I can argue you're an artist, right? You're someone who has a vision of what you want things to look like. You've been like that from a young age, but in a sense, you're an entrepreneur, right? I mean, that's really what it comes down to. So what have you learned, I guess, from age 16 as far as just having an interest in wanting to model, design clothes and things like that to being an entrepreneur, which is a huge, huge difference to some degree. While they intertwine, being an entrepreneur is not for everybody. So what are some of the lessons, I guess, you've learned, whether they're good or bad, from being an entrepreneur?
Um, I could say what I've definitely learned from the age of 16 is even though you may know people No matter how much how many X amount of people you may know, uh, at the end of the day, like, you are your brand, and there's just certain things that you have to do on your own in order to get to where you want to be. And I've learned not to really rely on people to do everything for me, and not to look for any handouts, and especially when it comes to investments, you know.
Yeah, yeah.
Um, so this past few months, I actually received three no's and one yes that turned into a no before I reached to the yes, where I didn't have to give any equity or percentage away of my company. It was more so of I had to go through, like, not every no means, like, that it's the end of
It
it.
means not right now
Correct.
sometimes, right?
Correct. For me, every no means that you're closer to a yes.
Mhm.
And the first four people were business people. The fifth investor wasn't. They didn't care for anything. They just wanted to support. And I received six figures from somebody who
Wow.
didn't want anything in return. Just somebody who's been looking from the outside in, been really, really following my journey, and just wanted to support.
That's a pretty good story. You never know that when that one person you could meet one day that could change things around for you quite a bit.
Correct.
That's really, really interesting. So what would you say has been the biggest obstacle? Is it financing? I mean, I would imagine most businesses it is. Is that the biggest obstacle you face at this point as far as your growth?
Uh, uh, that's one of the obstacles for sure.
Mhm.
But there's always a way to to ease out the finance part, getting a 9 to 5 job. But I could say the biggest obstacle for me was just simply uh getting started, and and getting people to believe in me and my brand. That's the biggest obstacle. It's kind of like being a musician. You make about 25 songs, but there's only one song that's gonna get people talking. And if you don't start, if you don't really believe or have any passion about what you're doing, then there's no point.
No, you're exactly right about that. Let's shift gears a little bit. This week, and I don't know if it's still going on or not, but it's Naples Fashion Week, right? Is it still going on, or did it
It
did it end
actually just
yesterday?
ended Monday.
Okay. Tell us a little bit about that because it's all over social media. Not everybody goes to that event. What's it like? Who attends? What do you get out of it?
Yeah, so Naples Fashion Week was actually started about a year ago, so it's fairly brand new. And at this event, I was asked to present a few of my designs, but my thing is they were already showcased at previous fashion shows. So I just went there to attend as a guest and a host. And the designers there, they were fairly I seen young designers from ages 12 and older designers.
Wow.
And Naples Fashion Week pretty much just showcased lots of local designers from around the area or outside of the area. And being at that event, you just never know who you're sitting by.
Sure.
And you just meet lots of interesting people from, like, different areas of the fashion business or outside of business.
Yeah. Is it an all day thing? So I know it's a few days, but is it literally all day long or is it just more in the evening?
It's an all day thing.
Okay.
We had a few different brands come out, and they set up a few little pop ups where locals would come in and purchase a few things from their small brand, and from there, there's cocktail, and there's the interview parts for key known figures, and it's pretty cool. It's really, really cool. It's an all day thing.
Yeah, it sounds terrific. So I mentioned your website before, but I know you are all over social media, which nowadays is, I mean, for any entrepreneur, anyone wanting to brand themselves, it's just a great outlet. What's your strategy when it comes to social media in general?
So the strategy that I use is well, I don't I don't sell my products. I sell my story. I sell my stuff. My story is what buys the products. So I always keep it very, very authentic. I don't imitate anybody. I always be myself, and I give people something worth to watch, like kind of like a show, an ongoing thing. Like I keep them posted on certain things that I have coming up, and it's always what's next, what's next, what's next, and it's a ongoing story. So I just keep them entertained by doing the things that seems impossible, or doing the things that people can't see me doing. And from there, it's like, again, how did he do this? How did he do that? How did he get X amount of money or whatever? So I just stand out. I do the things that most people are scared to do.
Love that. That's hey, that's another quality of an entrepreneur, right? Doing things that other people, like I said, want to do but just don't. It's
Correct.
amazing how many people have ideas and just don't act on it. So you're clearly doing that. As we wrap up here, let me couple of final questions. Your future. I mean, you're a young guy. You're 25, 26.
25.
25. Okay. So you have many, many years ahead of you. You have a head start on everybody else. What does the next 5 years, 10 years plus look like for you? What's your vision?
Um, so in the next 5 years, I would definitely like to see myself as a very, very strong online brand. Uh I want to have about 3 houses. I want to be very, very, very financially stable. I probably want to get married too. To a very entrepreneurial driven type of woman. And but the next 5 years, I just see myself being much, much 100 times better than I am today.
Yeah, I love that. Where are your clothes available now? What stores?
So there you can find them at the if you want to get them locally here in Naples, Florida, you could go to the Ritz-Carlton Beach and Golf Resort, and you could also go online at peterjeanmarie.store. I have a unreleased collection that I'm currently working on that haven't been released, so that's something to look forward to.
Excellent. You see that rap career coming back, or is that over?
The I make music for fun. That's definitely something I'm definitely going to add on to my brand, because as far as the fashion business, I get all of my blueprint from the music industry.
Okay,
Yeah.
interesting. So
Yeah.
who's your favorite? Who do you like to listen to?
Uh I listen to I like Nico and Vince. Am I wrong?
Hmm.
That's one of their coolest
I
songs.
like that song actually.
Hmm. And to be honest, I'm not really limited to the type of music I listen to. I listen to
A little
everything.
bit of everything. Okay. Final question for you, Peter. For aspiring entrepreneurs listening right now, what's the one piece of advice you would tell them?
Start now. Stop waiting, stop guessing, and just know yourself, be yourself, and stay true to yourself. Don't change, and don't let anybody change or tell you the things that you can't do or what you can't be.
That might be the best advice anyone has given on the Key Ingredient podcast. So I thank you for that. Peter JeanMarie, you are an inspiration. I love following you on social media. I am excited to see where things go for you. There is no doubt in my mind. I mean, you're already successful. I see this blowing up for you, and I wish you all the best. I want to thank you for being on the Key Ingredient and hope to have you back one day in the future.
Yes, most definitely a big thank you to you for having me here. This podcast is gonna be bigger than it is today, probably tomorrow, maybe the next day. So it's definitely an honor to be the youngest so far on this podcast. So thank you again.
Well, with your words of wisdom for any young aspiring entrepreneur listening right now, we may get someone younger one day, right? Thanks to you.
Correct.
So thanks again and all the best.
Thank you.